Have you ever received an email from a Nigerian prince promising you a fortune? Or perhaps an urgent message from your bank suggesting there's been suspicious activity on your account and you need to verify your information immediately? If you're nodding your head, then you've been targeted by what's known as a phishing scam. Now, phishing is a pastime enjoyed by many. The tranquility of a calm lake, the patience required to catch a fish, the thrill of a tug on the line. But phishing with a PH is far from tranquil. It's a cybercrime where individuals are targeted by email, telephone, or text message by someone posing as a legitimate institution to lure them into providing sensitive data. This could be anything from personally identifiable information and banking details to passwords and credit card numbers. The bait is cast wide, and the fishers are patient. They're not waiting for one specific fish to bite. They're trawling the digital seas, waiting for unsuspecting victims to take the bait, and unfortunately, a surprising number of people do. You see, phishing scams have become increasingly sophisticated, making it more challenging to distinguish a legitimate email from a cleverly disguised scam. And the impact is staggering. Every year, millions of people around the world fall victim to these scams, leading to billions of dollars lost. And it's not just individuals who are at risk. Businesses, large and small, are also prime targets for these cyber pirates. Corporations have lost millions due to phishing attacks, leading to a significant dent in their reputation and consumer trust. The scale of these scams may seem overwhelming, and you might be thinking, how on earth did we get to this point? Well, like many things in life, to understand where we are, we need to understand where we came from. But where did these phishing scams originate? Let's dive into the murky waters of their history. Our story begins in the late 80s, in a time when the internet was still a new and exciting frontier. Picture this, the late 80s. The internet was considered a technological wonderland, a realm of infinite possibilities. It was during this era that the seed of what we know today as phishing scams was sown. Back then, these scams were like newborns, simple and less sophisticated, just like the internet itself. The term phishing wasn't even coined until the mid-90s. It's a play on the word fishing, you see, because these scammers were essentially casting their nets into the vast ocean of the internet, hoping to catch some unsuspecting fish. And by fish, I mean users. The very first phishing scams were carried out on a platform called America Online, or AOL for short. They were simple, almost laughable by today's standards. Scammers would pose as AOL staff and send messages to users, asking them to verify their account information. And believe it or not, people fell for it. Fast forward to the turn of the century, the internet was becoming increasingly popular, and the scammers saw an opportunity to cast their nets wider. They began to target more than just AOL users. Banks, credit card companies, online payment services, no one was safe. As we moved into the new millennium, the scams evolved. They became more sophisticated, more believable. Scammers began to use graphics and logos to make their emails look like they were from legitimate sources. They started to include links to fake websites where they would trick users into entering their personal information. It was a game of cat and mouse. As internet users became more savvy, the scammers had to up their game. They had to be more creative, more deceptive, and unfortunately, they succeeded. As the internet grew, so did the sophistication and complexity of phishing scams. And as we'll see in the next scene, this had serious consequences for internet users around the world. But don't despair. We'll also discuss how you can protect yourself from these digital pirates. So, stay tuned for that. From the simple beginnings, phishing scams have come a long way. In the early days of the internet, in the early 2000s, phishing scams were relatively straightforward. The scammer would send out a bulk email pretending to be a reputable company, asking for your personal information. It was the digital equivalent of a fisherman casting a wide net, hoping to catch as many unsuspecting individuals as possible. But as we moved into the late 2000s, scammers started to get more sophisticated. They began to use social engineering techniques to manipulate people into giving up their information. This was the era of the so-called spear phishing attacks, where the scammers would target specific individuals or companies using personalized information to make their scams more convincing. Then, around the turn of the decade, we saw the rise of whaling. This was a more targeted form of attack, aimed at the big fish, the high-profile individuals or corporations with deep pockets. The scammers would spend months, sometimes even years, gathering information about their targets before launching their attacks. As we moved into the 2010s, the scammers continued to adapt and evolve. With the rise of social media, they found a new playground. They started to use these platforms to gather information about their targets, to impersonate their friends or family, and to spread their scams far and wide. And now, in the present day, phishing scams are more sophisticated than ever. They use advanced techniques like creating fake websites that look exactly like the real ones, or using machine learning algorithms to create convincing fake emails. They even use phone calls and text messages, pretending to be your bank, your phone company, or even the government. But it's not just the techniques that have evolved. The stakes have also gotten higher. Nowadays, scammers are not just after your personal information, they're after your money, your identity, even your company's intellectual property. Now, phishing scams are more complex and harder to spot than ever before. But fear not, we won't leave you in the lurch. Coming up next, we'll delve into the consequences of these scams and equip you with the knowledge to safeguard yourself against becoming a target. But why should we care about phishing scams? Just how big of a problem are they? Well, let me tell you, they're a whopper of a problem. Phishing scams don't just float around in the digital sea waiting for a random nibble. They're more like the sharks of the internet, relentlessly hunting down their prey. And when they strike, the damage can be devastating. Let's talk numbers for a moment. Every year, billions of dollars are lost to phishing scams worldwide. Yes, you heard that right, billions with a B. That's a whole lot of money that could have been spent on something far more enjoyable, like a vacation to a tropical island or a lifetime supply of your favorite chocolate. But it's not just the financial loss that hurts. The damage to one's reputation can be equally, if not more, painful. Imagine being a well-respected business, working hard to build trust with your customers, and then bam! A phishing scam hits and all that trust, all that goodwill vanishes faster than a fish in a shark tank. It's a hard blow to recover from, and some businesses never do. And what about individuals? Well, for a start, falling victim to a phishing scam can lead to a whole host of problems. From identity theft and fraudulent transactions to the stress and time-consuming process of reclaiming your digital identity. It's a nightmare no one should have to experience. But here's the thing. Phishing scams are like those tricky little fish that manage to slip out of the net every time. They're always evolving, always changing, making it harder for us to spot them. So what can we do about it? Well, the good news is there are ways to protect yourself, and no, it doesn't involve avoiding the internet like a shark-infested sea. It's all about being vigilant and knowing what to look out for. The impact of phishing scams is significant, but there are ways to protect yourself. So stay tuned, because next we're going to dive into how you can stay safe in these digital seas. So how can you avoid falling victim to these digital pirates? Well, my friend, it's all about practicing good cyber hygiene. Think of it as brushing your teeth, but for your online activities. It's not as complicated as it sounds, I promise. Here are 5 steps to safe. Firstly, never click on suspicious links. You wouldn't pick up a snake just because someone told you it was a rope, would you? Same principle applies here. If a link looks fishy, don't click. It's that simple. Secondly, always verify the source. If you receive an email from your bank asking for personal information, double-check the sender's address. Better yet, call your bank directly. It's like asking for ID at the door. No identification, no entry. Thirdly, be wary of requests for personal information. Your bank, your email provider, or your favorite online store will never ask for your password via email. If they do, it's probably a scam. Next, keep your software updated. Yes, I know those update notifications can be annoying, but think of them as your digital bodyguards. They're there to protect you from the latest threats. So next time you see one, don't ignore it. And last, but certainly not least, use strong, unique passwords for your accounts and consider using a password manager. It's like having a different key for every door. Yes, it can be a bit of a hassle, but it's far better than having one key that unlocks everything. That's it. 5 simple steps to keep you safe in the digital seas. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being smart. Just like you wouldn't sail into a storm, don't sail into a phishing scam. Remember, in the digital seas, it's better to be safe than sorry. Stay vigilant, stay safe. If you found this entertaining, show your support by hitting that like button below. It really helps our channel.